Our colleague Scott Pelley and 60 Minutes, they're reporting important new details from a long-running investigation into so-called Havana Syndrome. This is those high-tech attacks, physical attacks, really, on officials working overseas. And last night's report looked at several incidents. These incidents have led some people to believe that Russia may be responsible for the attacks that have left Americans with a variety of debilitating symptoms. And a recently retired Pentagon official who led an investigation into Havana Syndrome told 60 Minutes about the patterns that he saw in the officials who were targeted.
One of the things I started to notice was the caliber of our officer that was being impacted. This wasn't happening to our worst or our middle range officers. This was happening to our top 10% performing officers across the Defense Intelligence Agency. And consistently, there was a Russia nexus. There was some angle where they had worked against Russia, focused on Russia, and done extremely well.
What has been the impact on American national security?
The impact has been that the intelligence officers and our diplomats working abroad are being removed from their posts with traumatic brain injuries. They're being neutralized.
Now, in a statement to 60 Minutes, the director of national intelligence said, quote, "It is very unlikely a foreign adversary is responsible," adding agencies have various confidence levels because we still have gaps in collecting intelligence. CBS News contributor Samantha Vinograd is a former assistant secretary of Homeland Security for counterterrorism and threat prevention, and she's familiar with the government's investigation into so-called Havana Syndrome. Sam, thank you very much for joining us. So that investigator, now retired Lieutenant Colonel, he believes that the bar for proving this syndrome is real has been set too high because America doesn't want to confront some hard truths. He's also saying that the impact has been significant and the targeting quite specific. What do you make of the allegations?
Well, I agree that there are significant national security implications of Havana Syndrome. We have individuals from key national security agencies doing critical work in intelligence, law enforcement, diplomacy, in the military, and more, being taken off the field. That puts us at a disadvantage. At the same time, Tony, it is a public perception that the U.S. government, despite its best efforts, is simply unable to protect public servants deployed overseas, as well as some public servants here in the homeland. And that really projects a symbol of both vulnerability and weakness. And that's why it's critically important that the Biden administration continue to investigate the causes of these incidents while concurrently offering medical services and other forms of compensation and protection to the individuals that have been impacted.
Yeah, it's certainly a bad look. It's called Havana Syndrome because it first popped up reportedly in Havana with our agents there, officials there. But Russia is apparently who the lead suspect is, according to the 60 Minutes report. And there's amazing footage of an alleged Russian spy who was then taken out or died on the front lines there. This is a chase to catch that spy. What do you make about the Russia nexus, as another 60 Minutes interview put it? Is Russia behind this? What's the likelihood?
Well, it is a no-brainer that the intelligence community would investigate whether perhaps our strongest adversary is a culprit behind these attacks. The intelligence community issued a report in March of last year that was frankly unsatisfactory. It stated that it was very unlikely that a foreign adversary is behind these attacks, but noted that it has major intelligence gaps and that there isn't high confidence in their assessment. These attacks do have hallmarks of Russian tradecraft. They're using advanced, non-traditional weaponry, and the Russians have done that kind of work in the past. So it could certainly be Russia, but the evidentiary basis that the intelligence community has right now isn't strong enough. And while they continue their investigation, Tony, it just remains critically important that the government do everything possible to protect Americans from these attacks.
Sam, there was a critical moment in the story. A lawyer representing an FBI agent affected by Havana Syndrome told Scott Pelley he believes that there is evidence of a cover-up by the U.S. government. You're a former Homeland Security official. What's your analysis of those comments?
Vlad, I was exposed to the administration's work on these anomalous health incidents, and insinuating that there's a cover-up underway is just flat out wrong. The intelligence community has set up a special cell, a global health incident cell, to investigate these incidents. Departments and agencies, including my former agency, the Department of Homeland Security, has sent very widespread communications encouraging individuals to report these incidents so they can be investigated and so that people can get help. That's the opposite of a cover-up. It is unsatisfactory that we don't know with a strong evidentiary basis who's responsible for those attacks, but that's very different than a cover-up.
Samantha Vinograd, always great to have your analysis. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.